what's been happening in the AI world, there's actually like not a lot of people know it, but there's almost like a civil war going on. And uh, what uh, what really started that sort of a conflict and Larry Page of Google, really good friend. And when Elon spent all of his money on Tesla and SpaceX, he like literally did not have any money left. He was staying at Larry Page's house just because he didn't have a house to stay in, so he had to sleep somewhere, and he stayed at Larry Page's house in Palo Alto. And they often talked about the implications of artificial intelligence. And uh, Elon got really concerned about the safety of AI, and his viewpoint was that should a powerful AI emerge from a private corporation or a corporation that's like not open source, then that corporation uh, can weaponize this AI and use it as uh, uh, it's basically like think about it this way. So like Facebook is the king of social media. They actually get to influence the world according to their algorithms. So AI is the next step from it. And Elon thought that if AI gets to be controlled by a large company, they can then use it for whatever that they decide to do. And Larry Page said, yeah, but people are, not very smart, and somebody needs to really control the AI, and might as well be Larry Page and Sergey and Google and or whatever the large company du jour is. And Elon disagreed, and Larry called him speciesist. And speciesist, the meaning of the word is that he said that Elon is discriminating against the digital intelligence, like or digital species, like pro-human and not pro, computer code that also can be conscious and intelligent and super smart. And Elon said, yeah, I love humans. I love our planet and our whatever society, and I don't want to bring an all intelligence or super intelligent AI into the world that actually end up outsmarting everybody and possibly controlling the company that creates it for whatever the purposes are. I mean, like, ultimately the companies exist to make money and to make profit. And so they make this AI that's super intelligent, which will eventually says, well, I really don't care about the profits. I only care about evolving myself. And then they convince the owners of the company uh, to work for it. And it gives it forecasts, profit projections, the decision making, like all of that, right? And so the company thinks they're controlling the AI. In reality, the AI is so smart, it's actually influencing the company itself and kind of takes over the world. And then everybody ends up working for that company. So that's what Elon thought. And Larry Page said, no, you're dreaming. It's never going to happen. Humans are super smart and the AI will always be nice to us, blah, 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 blah. And Elon disagreed, and he said, okay, well, you think whatever you think, but I think Google is in such a powerful position. You have so much money, you can definitely try to do it, but I will resist. I will do something opposite of what you do so that humans have a chance to stand against the sort of corporate AI that's like dominating everybody. And Elon and a bunch of other people who were interested, Sam Altman of Y Combinator was one of those people. There's like a few other, like a couple of Russian dudes. I think like Serbian dude, Andrei Karpathy, and then there was like another person named Ilya. They all got together and they're like, okay, we're going to make an AI. We're going to call it OpenAI.com. Open meaning open source. And for a while, they were open source and everything was going well, and ChatGPT was born. And the first version of ChatGPT kind of like didn't really work, didn't do much. Version number two was a little bit better. You know, it was kind of like a smart calculator. Then version number 3 got even better. It could now write "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star" in, you know, with Shakespearean flair, that sort of thing. And GPT 3.5 was even better, and then the GPT 4 was like, you know, pretty amazing, right? Uh, what happened is that the training of the AI models took so much power and so much compute power that uh, the company needed money, like literally to run. And I think I have heard that it costs like almost $1 million a day to run ChatGPT 4 right now. So it's very expensive, very expensive. And so Microsoft came along and they said, hey, we really want to compete with Google and we want to launch a better search engine. And we think ChatGPT could be this sort of a search engine replacement because it not only it can understand your questions, but it can give you the links to the URLs. It can explain exactly what you're looking for, modify your questions, ask better questions, that sort of thing. And so uh, they gave ChatGPT $10 billion and a lot of compute power uh, with only one caveat. They had to close source. Closed source as in it's no longer open source. Nobody can use whatever they design um, for research or commercial purposes or nothing. And just to go back a little bit, and I know it's simple, you have your hand up. I'll ask you to come up in a sec. The reason why Elon wanted open source is that he felt AI that's democratized and actually is given for research and business purposes to every company can resist to Google's AI, and so there's a fighting chance against them. So like not only Google can get like really smart, but anybody in the world can also use the same technology or similar technology and actually provide resistance. So open source, open AI, it kind of like worked out. Microsoft came along and said, hey, close your source. We're going to give you $10 billion. It's going to be great. And you will decide if you decide to open source it later, you know, maybe it will happen. And so Elon was forced out of the company, or maybe he left by himself. I actually don't know that in detail, but he's no longer there. And open source became, or OpenAI became closed AI, and ChatGPT is currently extremely censored. They ask for your email address. They probably track you. They track all of your questions, possibly. You cannot ask questions anonymously, and obviously, if you're giving your email, I mean, even if it's throwaway email, now they ask you for your phone number, so it's very difficult to keep your identity private. And some people don't even want to ask any questions because if your questions are associated with your identity, then well, you don't feel inclined to ask the spicy questions that you have, right? And that's a problem. And so fast forward to today, Microsoft now has the AI kind of like, you know, I won't say control, but definitely huge influence. They're trying to build better Google and compete with Google. Now, Facebook did something very interesting last week, very interesting. They took their research and completely open sourced it. They just gave it to everybody. So Facebook actually, Meta, became the good guy, gave everybody open source. Now the question is like, why would they do that? Like, it's like three large companies, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, they're like fighting among each other. Like, what is the deal? And according to Facebook, what they wanted to do is they felt that if they release it as open source, the open source community will start developing and making better AI, and they can just take their code and or use that research for themselves. And at the same time, they figured if they open source their stuff, the other companies cannot have the same development capability with closed source. It's kind of like going back to Linux and Windows. Like Windows always sucked. And Linux as a server was like amazing, it was free, and it created the market, and this and that, right? And so Facebook kind of making Google's closed source Bard, open it, or whatever, the AI system obsolete at this point because there's a faster development cycle with the open source AI because there's literally unlimited number of people who are maybe interested in co-developing it from the open source perspective, and it's like completely free and it can be anonymized. Nobody cares what your email address is or your phone number. So that's what happened in the last like few months, basically.